Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Build Show. I'm John Peitzman, JP, Certified High Performance Coach and creator of the Build Framework. I help individuals and teams all over the world thrive in their personal and professional lives. And as your host on this show, our aim is to help transform lives one guest at a time. And how do we do that? We do that by having amazing guests. And today is no different. We have with us Ryan Brady. At 17 years old, Ryan Brady was in a near-fatal car accident that left him in a coma, only to wake up having forgotten how to speak his native language and walk. He spent his last year of high school learning to speak English again and learning to walk while working to graduate at the same time. Due to this experience, he developed a fascinating positive mindset and now encourages others to start today taking a step toward your dreams with the mantra, "You can learn anything you need, the power is within yourself." Ryan speaks at universities internationally and loves to take the road less traveled. From this experience, Ryan has mastered finding the positive within even the most negative situations and loves to share with others his insights about maximizing our fullest potentials. And it is my privilege to have Ryan joining us today via video technology all the way from Madrid. Can you believe it? He's in Madrid. And Ryan, thank you for joining us here today. It's such a pleasure to have you with us on The Build Show.
Of course. Well, thank you guys for, I know it's you, JP, but I also know your entire team is part of this to make this all happen. And I genuinely appreciate this opportunity because I know the work that goes into making this happen.
Yeah, well, as I say, the pleasure is all ours because, inspiration and insight from people who have actually gone through things like yourself, and we'll talk about that, is so motivational. And I really applaud all you're doing to kind of spread the word of optimism and positivity and, like you said, finding that, pearl within any negative situation that you can absolutely use to turn things around. So before we dive into the build framework and the rest of it, what are you excited about right now as we sit here today and talk?
Sure. So I'm excited that I can take my lessons from this experience and share it with other people so they do not have to go through this kind of experience to get those same lessons, right? I figured if it doesn't make sense for me to go through something like this and learn everything from it without sharing those lessons with other people. So that's what I'm really excited about today, and especially to kind of break it down with with you live, right? Which I'm very excited about as well.
Right. No, and that's great. And we'll use the build framework to do that. For those of you who don't know what build stands for yet, it's an acronym. It stands for build relationships, understand the business, implement strategies, lead and inspire, and deliver excellence. And what I love about the Build Show and having guests like yourself, Ryan, is that even though the build framework stays consistent, of course, the unique application and the way that our guests operationalize these insights into their lives absolutely is unique and special and inspirational in its own way, and everyone applies it in their own way. And I would love to talk to you about your journey and what you've been through and how you applied build to kind of get through to the other side. So if we start with the first category, build relationships, right? Such a broad and varied topic. We could obviously spend an hour on each one of these letters, of course, but just kind of touching on maybe the main lessons learned from your standpoint in the category of build relationships, especially as it relates to your personal journey and what you'd like to share with the audience today. So what are maybe some of the most important relationships that were in place with what happened and what you went through and how you got through that?
Sure. So I think I got to give a little bit of background and tell just the first bit of the story for
Absolutely, yeah. No, please do, please do.
to make a little sense, right? So when I was 17 years old, I was driving to my 6th day of senior year of high school in the morning. I was driving with my little brother. He was 15 at the time. And as a stupid teenager, I was speeding, right? The speed limit was 25. I was going 39 miles per hour. And right as I went around a turn, there was a construction truck right in the middle of the road. And right in that moment, I was left with a decision, right? But this decision was almost instinctual. It was a millisecond of thinking. In fact, it was almost no thinking. It just happened. I realized if I hit the brakes, I'm going to kill this truck driver, kill myself, and kill my younger brother. And so I knew that anything would be better than that, right? And so I turned to the right to avoid this truck, but to my right, there was no road. There was an 80-foot, 25-meter cliff. Car flipped 6 times going down the cliff. I don't know if you watching have siblings or if you have siblings, JP, but fortunately, nothing happened physically to my brother. Of course, it was a very tough experience from the trauma of that happening. But me sitting just 1 foot from him, I broke my neck, my back, my wrist, elbow, and collarbone. And I had something called the traumatic brain injury, TBI for short. I was in a coma for a week. And that's how I can tell you. Now I can dive into the relationships. So when I landed at the bottom of that cliff, it's actually really interesting. And I think it speaks a lot to relationships. I was bleeding out, right? So my right arm, it was totally, I don't know if you could see the scar right there, but it was totally just bleeding out. And my 15-year-old brother in that moment, he saved my life. And I don't know if you guys have seen the photo of all the blood over the car, but without him, I would not be alive today. He had the courage to, as 15 years old, grab my arm and just make it stop. It was still bleeding, of course, but make it so it wasn't just gushing blood. Without that relationship with my younger brother at that time, I would have bled out and died right there. And right as I was bleeding out at the bottom of the hill, my mom actually called us from her phone. She was driving our other little brother to school, who was what was he? It's like 9 at the time, and or 10 actually. It was his 10th birthday that day, and we pick up the phone. Me, I'm unconscious at that point, but my younger brother, he picks it up, and she says, "Hey, make sure you have insurance in the car just in case you guys get in an accident." And my brother, he said, "Mom, we were in a car accident." And she just started going, as I think any mother would. She was, "Oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah. Make sure this, don't do this, do." And my brother, he just hung up because he realized in that moment, having her there, stressing out, that energy was not going to help him at all in that moment. And fortunately, the car had a black box, which when there was impact, automatically dialed the police and sent the location. But that relationship with my brother, I would not be alive if it wasn't for him. And then, of course, I think there's the whole story of the relationship I had with myself, actually, to even think it was okay to speed in the first place. I grew up in a very safe place, Northern California, very, very, in my opinion, was very coddled. And so I never thought anything bad could happen to me. It was just this bubble, right? I was built in this box where nothing bad would ever happen. And it wasn't until this that I realized, no, that's all fake. There's no box. And I think that relationship that I had with myself and that kind of thought pattern of nothing bad can ever happen to you. You do this, you do that. Something will always take care of it. You'll be okay. I think that relationship broke that day, right? Which I'm very fortunate to have gotten out of that kind of thought pattern and that relationship with myself. I just threw a bunch on you there. You want me to keep talking about the relationships? Because there's more, but I don't
Yeah,
want to
no,
spoil more of the story.
no, I would love to. I would love to, and just keep having the conversation because I'm sure you'll get there too. But in watching just some of the footage, and again, we showed some still pictures, I think, as part of your intro. But there's also footage of you literally learning to walk again. And I can only imagine the relationships you had with your caregivers and people to kind of help you learn to talk and walk again. That is probably very important as well in your journey. So yeah, continue talking, continue saying whatever you want to say about this topic.
Awesome, sure. So I was in a coma for a week, like I mentioned. And when I woke up from the coma, I forgot, like what JP mentioned, 2 things we all learn as kids. I forgot how to speak English, which was my first language, and I forgot how to walk. So that left me with a very interesting senior year of high school. But when I woke up from the coma, everything was relationships, right? So I forgot a lot of stuff, my long-term memory, right? So that being, oh, I was in school yesterday, all this kind of stuff. I just thought I was on vacation. But what really helped me in those moments was, of course, the surgeons, the doctors, my parents, my brothers, the people that visited me, the family that visited me, the friends that visited me. And really just like my speech therapist, my walk therapist, my physical therapist, all these people, without these relationships, I wouldn't be, I don't think I would be walking and talking today. And then especially one that I notice a lot of people, unfortunately, they forget about this when they go through something like this. But I wanted to make sure I gave my appreciation to all the policemen and all the firefighters that saved my life, because they were the people that got notified and pulled me out of the car. Took them about an hour and a half to do that, which was a very long extraction for them. And I could tell they really appreciated it, because it's not all too often that they get to see the person whose life they saved come back 6 months later and thank them for saving their life. And I think just the smiles on their faces that they had when I went back and had those conversations with them, it was very fulfilling, just to give this kind of appreciation, like, thank you for this life you see right here. That's because of you. And so that was a fantastic experience to have with those lifesavers. Really is what they were. And I think if there was one moment in the hospital, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and then I was in rehabilitation for 2 more weeks. I switched facilities, and the moment that kind of topped it off for me of rehabilitation, of course, there was inpatient stuff, which was a lot of stuff I had to do. But the moment that topped that off for me was when I walked out of the facility pushing my father in the wheelchair. And that was almost like they rolled me in a wheelchair, but I was the one to roll him out in a wheelchair. Nothing was wrong with him physically. It was just a cool moment. So the relationship with my dad was fantastic and spoke a lot. I even have a photo of that, and that still sticks with me today. Does that answer your question, JP?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. And before we move on to understand the business, I guess, has it actually changed your importance and relationship with relationships, would you say, the experience you've gone through?
Yes, I would say it has. And it was almost the foundation for kind of understanding the importance of these relationships and going forward, of how important they are for almost everything in life in general. This person who knows this person who connects you with this person can lead to opportunities and things that you would have never imagined possible. And I've experienced that in my life, of course. You and me sitting here, JP, it's a fantastic, it's a relationship that we built over time, right? So I think that's a great example of it. But that was the foundation for me. Then piled on, of course, business, and we can talk about that next. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but kind of understanding the importance of relationship and the significance of it really going forward. I would say yes, absolutely, to answer your question.
No, and that is the foundation. It's the foundation of the build framework, of course, as well, because the understandings, which we'll move to now, understand the business, right? That whole category is based upon literally building relationships, right? You build authentic relationships so you can understand the business more effectively and more deeply. And if we move into understand the business, the you in the build framework, what understandings of the business of life, kind of the business of maybe self-recovery, or the business of anything that you can think of, comes to mind with what you want to share with the listeners here today?
I think there's a few core nuggets, core gems of knowledge that I got out of that experience. One was, to start off, the power of perspective, right? So when I was in the hospital, I genuinely thought I was on vacation, because I didn't remember getting into an accident. There was, all my friends were there with me. My family was there with me. There was always someone there with me, and I was getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner all served to me in bed. There was always a TV on playing, always good food, or food that I thought was good, because I didn't remember what any food tasted like. So all food tasted good. Hospital food or even airplane food, whatever it was, would have tasted good at that time. So the importance of perspective in that, and my mom had to correct me so many times, because I continued to refer to it as hotel and not hospital. And she continues to laugh about that to this day, many years later. But I think it spoke a lot to where my mindset was at that time. Is it did genuinely feel like a hotel. I didn't think anything was wrong with me. I had a a halo, a 25-pound metal neck brace and cast. I didn't even realize it was there. I thought it was normal because I didn't remember anything from before. So I think that taking that first nugget, that definitely applied and continues to apply to a lot of things in life, just the importance of perspective. This compared to what? This is this, but compared to what? That was the first nugget. And then I would say the second was, let's talk about this experience as a whole, right? So every time I talk about this story, whether it's someone asks me, oh, how'd you get that scar? Oh, what was I was talking with someone a couple days back, and they said, what was the craziest thing you did in high school? And, this story came up, right? And every time I tell it, I always end up telling them. And if I had to do it again, and the universe, a higher power, or God, call it whatever you want, the moment before looked at me and said, Ryan, in 5 seconds, you're gonna drive off this cliff. You're gonna destroy your body. You're gonna destroy your mind. You're gonna take about a year and a half, 2 years to fully recover, but you're gonna get all this on the other side of it. Do you still want to do this? I'd say yes, 100%. Let's do it. Game on. So the experience as a whole and the ability to, like you touched on to start, JP, I'm not sure if it is a positive mindset, really. I think it's just a perspective that I have of this stuff happening for a reason, right? And I know I hear that a lot, and maybe you do as well. And at first, when I started hearing it, I was kind of confused. But then when I really thought about it, I thought, yes, I do think these things happen for a reason, but I get to choose that reason. That's where, is there destiny? Maybe yes, maybe no. Everybody has their own different perspective. I believe that you get to choose that reason for why things happen to you. And that decision you make as far as why the thing happened to you can lead your life in a completely different direction. Like after this happened, I could have gotten really, really depressed, looked at my, my situation, thought, oh my gosh, this is what's going on here. I give up, blah, blah, blah. But seeing these little things happen to me, for example, a month out, I was in physical therapy, and my physical therapist, she said, Ryan, did your doctors tell you this? Tell me what? If your C7 vertebrae, the thick one at the base of your neck, was 1 more millimeter compressed, you'd be paralyzed from the neck down. And just knowing that, I mean, how can I complain about anything in life? It's like, at least I'm able to walk and talk and have this experience and go through this suffering, go through this pain. At least I can have that happen to me. So that decision of choosing the reason, it really, really reframed how I looked at life, because me deciding to have this experience and decide that it happened for a reason, that there was something more for me in life. Before, I was super unmotivated. I wanted to go to a college where there was, a lot of unmotivated people, and just kind of be part of that crowd and, go through the kind of standard American college experience, which nothing wrong with it. It's for some people, for others, not so much. For me, I thought it was for me before, but I guess there was, something different was meant for me. And this experience definitely helped me realize that. Because after this happened, I realized, okay, the universe or the higher power, like I said before, call it whatever you want. My perspective was, I thought, damn kid, you got so much potential, but you're sitting on your ass high. You're not doing anything with your life. You're unmotivated. We see so much potential in you, but we got to smack you really, really hard to wake you up so you know what you can really do in life. And I think it was with that perspective of choosing that being the reason why it happened, that I carried that perspective and, like you said, positive mindset to so many other things, that even when really tough things happen, I always think, okay, what can I get from this? There's a reason this is happening to me. I want that reason because I want to learn something from it, or it will benefit me in some way. What is that way this is benefiting me? How can I appreciate this gift from the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, on a more higher level? And so I think that was another nugget that I definitely got from just the experience as a whole. Then this one was more of a, I wouldn't call it a superficial one, but my from my TBI, besides forgetting how to speak English and forgetting how to walk, my right arm healed back. Yeah, the bone healed back incorrectly. So there's something called heterotropic ossification, basically when your bone heals back wrong, right? And it locked my right arm at a 90-degree angle. And it wasn't until about 6 months after, once it was done growing, that bone was done growing, I was able to get a surgery to get it, cut out. And I'm a righty, and I thought, oh, I can never be ambidextrous. I can never become a lefty. But when your arm is locked at 90 degrees and you have no other option, you got to figure it out. And that experience really just showed me, okay, the only thing limiting you from doing these things you didn't think you could before was yourself. Really, like when someone will ask me this question, Ryan, who is your worst enemy? I say it's myself. I'm the only thing that is in my way of anything else in life that I could get to it. I'm the only bottleneck there. I'm the only thing that's holding myself back. It's not, this is reason why, it's not this. It's sure that may have something to do with it, but the core of dealing with it comes from me. And I think that experience of having the arm locked and, having to brush with the left hand and learn how to handwrite with the left hand, all that kind of stuff. It really showed me that I was the only thing in my own way from making all these powerful things happen in life. And I think that perspective, even though I had to go through this to get that perspective, it was absolutely worth it, because I think you can maybe attest for this too, JP. When you take full responsibility for everything in your life, whether it is truly your fault or not, some serious magic can happen. Some really cool things can happen when you take that action step. And I think I didn't realize it at the time, but this entire experience and all of these, knowledge nuggets that I got from it, especially after talking to so many different entrepreneurs, it really gave me a framework to proceed through life and through business and through entrepreneurship and starting businesses and all these kinds of things. Because especially when, as you know, as an entrepreneur, JP, there's a lot of great times. There's also a lot of really, really hard, scrappy times, right? And this entire experience, when I look at it, I'm able to see, okay, sure, this business can be hard. This thing can be hard. Lead gen is hard. Marketing is hard. Sales can be hard. Fulfillment can be hard. Whatever it is can be difficult. But then I look at that and I think, that was a heck of a lot harder. So if I could do that, what's my excuse about not being able to do this thing? I can do it. I just have to figure out how to do it. Who do I need to talk to help me with this? Where can I find the knowledge to figure it out? And so forth, right? So those were some very valuable knowledge nuggets I got from it.
Touches kind of on the highlights. Again, we could talk about this all day, any one of these topics, but I loved everything you said there about understanding the business. And really the great insight, among others, is the fact that you make it yours, right? That you decide how you want to understand that, right? And you take that ownership and accountability back, like you said, and then you're not a victim any longer to the external circumstances. Like you said, you could have been a victim and just kind of laid your head back and threw your hands up, and you didn't. You took the opportunity to kind of, understand what you wanted to understand based upon that experience, and then move it to a positive outcome, which leads to implement strategies, right? And if you had to just pick, I know we could talk about this the whole time too, but if you just had to pick like one strategy, the key strategy that you learned, that you were able to implement through all of this, this ordeal that you went through, what would that strategy be that you'd want to share with the listeners today?
Sure. So one strategy that I got from this experience that I implement every day, still to this day, every day, because it is a new way I go about life, was before all this happened, I thought, like I said, I was in this box and I thought, I have to get good grades, straight A's. I need to, go to a good college, get a good job, get a good house, buy a good car, meet a nice wife, have some good kids. That's what I thought before. That was my, thought pattern. also known as rat race, right? I learned later that was a name used for it. And what I really took from this experience, a strategy that I implement to this day, was this pulled me out of class. This made it so I couldn't attend class anymore. I was, going through homeschooling, learning to walk again, learning English again, and getting totally pulled out of that system that I thought I was in. And I thought if I left that system, the world would end. That would be it for me. I couldn't do anything else. You're not going to school, you're not getting good grades, you're done. But I was okay. And everything ended up working out just fine. And so that idea of going to a four-year university in the US, doing this, getting good grades, whatever it may have been, that narrative break that I had really allowed me to take action on my own life and decide what I truly wanted out of life. And I know a lot of people, maybe they have that realization when they're 50 years old at the corner office, they have the wife, they have the kids, they have the husband, whoever it may be. And they're sitting there thinking, okay, yes, I did it. And then look out in the corner office and they think, wait, this is it? This was the dream that was sold to me my entire life. I'm here, but I don't feel fulfilled. What is this? And it was at that moment that I really decided to implement this strategy in life and get completely out of the system, not do things because other people were doing them, do things that were new, try new things, fail a bunch, make errors, travel here, travel there, learn this language, do this. That strategy of making life my own and living for myself and doing things that are alignment in my purpose, not what society or parents or teachers or colleagues or just a narrative that I thought was what was correct and what I was supposed to do. Not doing that and doing this side that I just mentioned here. I think that's a strategy that I took from it that I implement to this day.
Amazing, which leads very nicely to L, lead and inspire, which you're clearly doing here. But what's one pearl of wisdom that you can share in the category of lead and inspire?
Sure. So I think one pearl of wisdom that I could share for lead and inspire is specifically for people that maybe they don't have a ton of responsibilities yet, like a family, like a mortgage, those kinds of things. Because I do not have those things yet, and I can't speak for that. But what I can speak for is just try it. Just try that business idea you had. Just try that opportunity. You thinking of taking that trip, just do it. What's the worst that can happen? Even if it goes like an absolute shit show, you got a cool story to tell. And I think that's the lead and inspire nugget that I would say is the worst that can happen is you have an awesome story, you gain a bunch of knowledge. And I think that combines with the perspective of just getting value from these experiences and learning from them, learning from everything that you go through. But I would say, especially for this person that doesn't have these, responsibilities yet, you're not responsible for, feeding kids, doing this. Even if your business fails, you learn a big lesson. I remember when I was 18, after I started a business, absolute failure. And I talked to some students at a university a couple years back about this, and they all laughed about it. And I loved it because it was awesome for them to hear, like, wait, this person's saying I can fail at a business. I thought if I start a business, it has to succeed. And it was the first time for them really hearing, no, you can start a business and fail. And in fact, that's probably a lot better. Because there's not a lot of high-level entrepreneurs except for Bezos that, have only started one business that became an absolute success. A lot of entrepreneurs have been serial entrepreneurs and have started, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 companies before their big business. So I would say, just try it.
I love that. And the truth is, as you stated so clearly, that we learn from our failures and mistakes more than we learn from our successes most of the time, right? So that leads finally to D, deliver excellence. What's the one nugget that you can give us in relationship to deliver excellence and how that applies to your life?
How would you define excellence?
Exactly. That's the question. How would you define excellence? See how I turned that back around?
Yeah.
Like, what is excellence to you? I mean, delivering excellence, what does that mean? With everything that you've been through, what does that really mean?
So for me personally, delivering excellence is showing up and showing up strong, because my perspective is, like I said, the universe, or whatever higher power, if you believe in or don't believe in, my perspective that this happened for a reason, because there was something more for me. That perspective is so ingrained in my head, almost on a genetic level at this point, that I don't want to waste this opportunity. It's like, kid, you've been given a second chance. We did this for a reason. There's something you got to do, that there's lives you can change, there's people you can impact. Don't effing waste this. Like, we believed in you for a reason. Do it. I think that excellence, I almost feel a responsibility. Like, I'm here because I need to do something that helps these people, that impacts these people, that changes these lives. And I think that's how I deliver excellence today, is fulfilling on that responsibility that I feel I have been given, almost on a spiritual level.
I love that so much. And as we wrap up, and thank you so much again for joining us here today, what are you, speaking of helping people do things, what's your current focus right now, and how can people get a hold of you to learn more about that?
Sure. So I help business owners land a TED Talk, whether that's their first, second, third, whatever it may be. So after about a year of work with leveraging my LinkedIn profile and having 2 TED Talks in the featured section, phenomenal results happened, opportunities came across, and a bunch of business owners started approaching me to help me, and I helped one, and then I realized, I could help more like this. This actually works. This framework, kind of like Build framework, it actually works. And that's when I decided, okay, I can actually start helping business owners land a TED Talk, whatever that may do for their business: exposure, credibility, more sales, more book sales, more coaching clients, more speaking opportunities, whatever it may be. But if you are a business owner and you're thinking of doing a TED Talk and you want to see if it's a good fit for you, see if it would make sense for your business, you can go to my website, speakingtoexpand.com, and set up a call with one of our team members and see if it is a good fit for you and see if it would make sense for your business.
Great. Well, I think that's how we came across you initially, was your TED Talk and hearing your story, and I just knew that it would resonate with our listeners, especially after we connected, and I understood that even without knowing officially back then the Build framework, you basically implemented the Build framework to help you get through everything that you've been through. So thank you, Ryan, again for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me, JP.
And thank all of you for joining us here as well. For more great resources to help you become your best self, including free worksheets and downloads, make sure to check out thebuildframework.com. That's it for this episode. I'm JP. We'll see you next time on The Build Show.